It never started because of the
Oh
law.
my gosh.
We're live now.
We were just having a conversation and we weren't even live.
That's great. Let's start up.
Here, roll back the video. Let's act like we know what we're doing.
Roll back that beautiful bean footage.
What's up, guys?
Shut up! God! Yeah! I'm not yelling!
Damn, flaky.
Okay, Boomer.
I'm sorry.
Hey, you guys made it.
Oh my
There
gosh.
was a slight problem with
That's funny.
StreamYard. Man, we already got into like the deep stuff. You guys missed it.
No. So I was going to start over. So since we're starting over, I want to start the stream saying congratulations to the nerds.
Oh, thanks,
They
man.
got their 500 subscriber today.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff.
Thanks, man.
I can't believe it just happened.
I can. That was funny.
So, well, what's funny is you had even said something about like, oh, it was saying I wasn't logged into StreamYards or whatever. And then we're having this conversation and like a text comes through and is like, what's the holdup? I'm like, are we not live? And then I saw scheduled in the corner and then the chat started saying things. I'm like, oh my.
Oh, no. We've
Hey,
been
but
this for a minute.
Here's the thing. We're Boomer Council though.
Right.
So it actually is like perfect.
Yeah.
So
No, it sits in the box 1,000%. Yeah.
you guys like my garage sale shirt though? Check
I do
this
like
out.
your garage sale shirt.
I'm kind of jealous.
There's a backside to it too. It's literally just like showing their backs. It's pretty cool. It's a
Nice.
size too small though, but I wore it for tonight.
Hey, you look good, man. You looking swole.
Thanks.
So yeah, I think we thought we were live there for probably about 7 or 8 minutes, and we were not.
We just need to recap everything.
Yes,
Just
basically,
redo it.
we looked at Strike's comment and it was like, hey, can we not talk about the sequels at least once on Boomer Council? And we're like, well, we're not really talking about the sequels. We're talking about, do all roads lead to the sequels? And then we kind of got into the sequels a little bit inevitably, but really what we're trying to say is, even if what Obsession's saying is, even if the connective tissue is there and they do a really good job kind of presenting all the information and making everything make sense, you still not want it that way. And for me, I don't, because you can give me a 15-course meal and the dessert is the sequel trilogy. When I get to the dessert, I'm going to be like, I'm good. That 15-course meal was amazing. Like, I'm good. I don't want the dessert. I don't want gold flakes on a turd.
I can tell you that they're not going to erase them.
I don't think they are.
So
Yeah.
you guys can keep dreaming that they're going to retcon them and they're going to do them again. Those ships have sailed when Carrie Fisher died. So if you want retcon sequels, they will have nothing to do with Hamill, Ford, or Carrie.
I don't think any of us think that they're going to redo the sequels like completely.
That's the ongoing argument.
Yeah,
I'm not.
do it.
I don't know. Here's my thing. I'm not in that camp, and I know people say what they want to say, and I think there's people are really quick to judge people and the content they make about this. My thing is like I'm not a Star Wars news guy. Like I'm more so like try and learn more about stuff.
Right.
And so I understand some people, they love the news, and so they're like. Some people have connections and they're actually hearing stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, I think about Disney, and at the end of the day, like if you watch like Imagineers, or there's like another documentary where it shows the transition from like Walt to whoever was in between Walt and Bob Iger. Well, there's like Walt's brother and all this stuff, right? It's pretty interesting. At the end of the day, though, Disney has become a massive business. And so like you're saying, they're not just going to like sweep all this under the rug. They've spent so much money on it. Galaxy's Edge and the hotel, all the stuff, right? They're not going to, it's not going anywhere. So for me, I'm like, I understand what you have to do, but at the same time, what I would like if Disney came to me and said, "Hey, you get to choose a direction, but you can't change the events of the sequels." Essentially, what I would want is, okay, do some teaser Easter egg things to try and like have it make sense for people who feel a little in between, but just give us new stuff that skirts around it. And like I saw somebody, I think it was on Reddit, somebody said, okay, so Grogu's species lives a very long time, Yoda species, right? So they're like, so what if we jump ahead in time 200-300 years and essentially like we start the storyline up there again and we start to see Luke training him. So like we get this like redeemed Luke for some people. It's like all this, and it's like we kind of jump forward. And for me, I'm like, okay, that would be cool, you know. But I think the conflict right now, I feel like you have High Republic people, sequel people, and people who just don't like Disney stuff. I feel like there's very few people who are kind of gray in between it all. So for me, when we're talking about all this, does all roads lead to the sequels? For me, I just get exhausted talking about the sequels. I just am like,
well, and see, my thing is,
you know,
I don't.
So many times.
We don't have to talk about the sequels. That's what I'm saying. Is there's 30 years of content in between, right?
Yeah.
So there's 30 years in between. So in the next 10 years of Star Wars content, they're going to give us 30 years, let's say. So at year 9, if they start creeping up to the sequels, but everything they've done for 10 years, and let's say they skirt around it a little bit without infringing on the timeline, right? But at some point in that timeline, you want Luke to train Grogu, cool. But at some point, Luke leaves. And what happens to Grogu in that time, right? After Luke's new order gets burned to the ground. Does he leave on his own Jedi quest before, which is totally feasible, right? And he's on his own quest, right, as a knight. Cool, I'm all about that. But my point is that everybody is tired of talking about it. I'm not even talking about them. I'm talking about the time from now and the stuff we're going to make that's going to take us over the next, let's say, that 5-year gap. I feel like this stuff should be, no one's going to be happy with everything, number one.
Yeah.
Right.
Ever.
There's people that the Marvel universe has done really well, and there's still a lot of haters that were like, you made this wrong and you made this wrong and it's not the same, right? And it's you didn't go by the comic. Well, you know what? They had 5,000 episodes of comics to go back to. Star Wars didn't have that for the sequels, although Legends is there, but they didn't have the lead guy there, meaning George, to guide them along the way that the book writers did.
I mean, that's super not true, though.
Well, George, no, but they told George they didn't want any part of him, basically, during the sequels. They trashed his scripts, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they had the opportunity. Just decided.
My point is, he wasn't on set directing the action, right? Not necessarily directing, but like helping them. The way that he is now, like he's on set with the Grogu. He's on set of Mando. He's on set of Boba, right? Like he's on set now, and like you guys are saying, it feels more like Star Wars because that's the moves that are being made now to try to lead us in to the next 10 to 20 years of Star Wars time, of galactic time, right? And that's the stuff I feel like we should be focusing on, but it is going to lead somewhere, right? And everybody's talking. So I'm doing this video right now about the world between worlds, and
this is 2 timelines a retcon?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Because for me, a retcon, I mean, maybe a little bit, but for me, a retcon is what they're currently doing. I feel like there's stuff, because, I mean, at the end of the day, if we backtrack to when, it was handed over to Disney. George Lucas handed the reins over to Kathleen Kennedy, and Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and the team said, hey, we're going to do your sequel treatment. We don't know exactly why they chose not to. There's a lot of speculation, but we haven't heard from them. This isn't why, but they went a different direction. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But now I feel like what they're trying to do is the people who don't like it, they're using things to get to the point where everything connects, where it's like, hey, we went a different direction. The people who don't like it, let's like you said, Obsession, that connective tissue. It's doing that. To me, that's a retcon. Retcon isn't necessarily bad. It's just what they're doing. But I feel like the world between worlds, it depends on how it's used. The seed was planted, and so the question is, did Filoni plant that there just in case he wanted to go a different direction with something in the future, like knowing that he would keep progressing up the ladder at Lucasfilm? Like, is it a foot he got in the door to make some changes, you know?
Well, with those stories, George was still very much in the mix also.
Yeah.
So talking to George about this stuff. And let's go back to this comment. So I'm not saying they don't have source material. I'm saying they decided not to use what was given. And this goes with everything that they had. They chose to garbage every piece of usable material and then seed it back in and pick and pluck what they wanted. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad idea, because not every story can be told, right? Not every story matches up with the timeline they're trying to use. But these were also people that didn't understand Star Wars, right? You're talking about an entire story group that didn't really understand Star Wars. And now you have Dave in the writer's room during Rebels and all of these season 7 to Clone Wars, and he's picking stuff out that he wants to bring back from the EU with all that source material, right? So he brings back Thrawn, right? And he brings back this and he brings back that. So my point being is that he understands what is important to take and use to get them where they want to go. But Disney as a whole and the entire story group decided that they were smarter and they were going to do a better movie. And they didn't. I'm not saying the sequels are great, but there's parts of the sequels that are great.
Yeah, I guess. That's kind of not what we expect from Star Wars, though. You know what I mean?
Well, again, these were people making Star Wars that didn't understand Star Wars. And unfortunately, that's what we're left with, right? You're left with the kind of...
That's where we're like, well, yeah, we don't want to really acknowledge it because it is Star Wars made by people who didn't really
understand Star Wars. Erase it, right? You can say, I don't believe it, but it's still there. And ultimately, we as fans don't get to dictate what is timeline and what is the story, right? So I understand what you're saying, but we as fans don't really get a play in the mix. We can sit here and talk about it, and maybe they hear us, but really, this has been decided years ago when they were writing all this, when Dave started this whole crazy thing. So,
but here's my question. So Phil brings up a good point, and I hope you'll elaborate in the chat a little bit because I'm interested to kind of dive into this a little bit. There's nothing at all anywhere that says Disney is going to do 2 timelines. People might hope for it, but there's nothing. And as fans, we should not push the 2 timelines. So 100% agree with the first part. There's really not much other than what happened in canon where we saw Ezra pull Ahsoka out, but we never see the other timeline where she dies fleshed out. So that was never something that we really got to.
Well, but if you're really and this just depends on how deep they go with time. If you really understand time and physics, and I think this is a big part of why Ahsoka doesn't dive back into the mix right away is the same space can't occupy the same molecular structure cannot occupy the same physical space at the same time, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to go that deep, bro.
So being out of place in time is a really big thing, right? And that's the thing. When you toy with time in anything, you're playing with forces that are very difficult to get right because there's so many ways you can do it wrong. right? So
Yeah, I mean, look at Lost season 4, right? And
Oh.
we're not going to talk about season 6. We're going to talk about
Bro.
season 4. You get Daniel Faraday
Mhm.
and Desmond
Mhm.
unstuck in time.
Mhm.
Basically, the stuff Daniel Faraday's doing, and figured out, hey, this rat is learning this maze a certain way, and he's messed with them, and he ended up killing somebody, messing with time, and all this, and basically there had to be this connection piece to bring him back. But I think Lost season 4 did it really well, where all of a sudden, like, they're unstuck, and so they're flashing in between timelines.
Mhm.
So if you think about your life, like right this second, all the different possible directions it could go, Lost did it really well. And I will say, I don't know if Star Wars would go down that rabbit hole, because it's really hard to successfully
Really
pull off.
Yeah.
And it's very confusing.
You know
Like,
which movie was awful that did it really well also was Time Cop.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that
With Van
in a hot minute.
There you go.
Yeah.
Daryl, me and Daryl are on the same page, bro. He was just talking about Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap. I'm a huge fan. But anyway, for me, Time Cop did it right, and that's where they really illustrate, like, you can't have two identical molecular structures, the atoms and the molecules within us occupy, so they can't touch. And when the bad guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, in that movie touches himself from a previous time, they basically like sucked in and erased each other, right?
Yeah, if
and
we
that,
talk about like the physics of Star Wars, that's going to be.
my point being is that time is tricky to get right. So playing with time forces,
so
and
is
that's
time travel. But
Well-
it's a suspension of disbelief that you just enjoy in Star Wars, you know?
Well, what if we did this?
bunch of-
We making this decision right now, we bigwigs. So we're rewatching the Clone Wars. You guys remember the virus arc, like the blue shadow virus?
Yeah.
Shadow.
I love, oh my gosh, I cannot remember his name, even though we just watched it. The scientist. It's
Dr.
like Vindy, Dr. Vindy. So obviously kind of like World War II German. I don't want to even say the word. I know it gets flagged. Very like, I guess like metaphysical, like I want to study things and affect all of humanity. And in that arc, it's not a great arc, but you get shown this character who it's like, we haven't seen this in Star Wars. We haven't seen somebody, a mad scientist working on this virus to take everybody out. And it literally almost changed the entire Star Wars timeline. Obviously it didn't get released, but what if there is something like you get introduced to this scientist who's trying to manipulate time to change events in his own life, or to try and go back and take out Palpatine and stuff like this. Like, you could get into this crazy stuff. But then that's what I'm saying, when you start getting into like people trying to, and like if you think about like Wolfenstein and all of this stuff, like we want to get to this place to go back and to change history. Like, it starts getting just really crazy and really chaotic. And so for me, I feel like what will happen if we do alternate timelines is it starts messing with the feeling of Star Wars, and it starts focusing too much on this swirling, like, wait, what timeline am I in? What's going on? And so that's why
Well, but
just the Force.
Ahsoka lives, one where Ahsoka dies.
if you had, see, that's not right either, because if you have one, there's not just two timelines. If you're going to do a multiverse, there's multiple verses, right? And that's something that Marvel is doing really well right now with What If, which was really well done. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend it. But that's something that they're toying with the What If series. And I don't want Star Wars to become a What If, right? I want Star Wars to continue to do what it has done and write a timeline and stick to it, right? Regardless of mistakes that are made.
Easy.
Right.
Just to be like, well, when Ahsoka got pulled out, this time got created. We don't know what happened in the other one, but this time,
But that's just it. But if,
boom, that's
if
it.
you
We're
look
done.
at it without timelines, he really didn't take her out of time. He pulled her out of time for a minute, but he didn't put her somewhere else or put her in the future or take her with him, right? Which would have been a paradox, I think, in its own. because then she's in two places, right? And in your time, like I don't want the world between worlds to be and I honestly don't think it works without Ezra anyway. So unless Ezra's there, I don't think it works for anybody else. I think he's unique, and the Emperor, who was all powerful, couldn't do what he did. And he needed Ezra to unlock the door because Ezra was the only one that could unlock the door.
Right.
Ahsoka couldn't do it. There's no other, Jedi around. So he's literally like the only one that can open the door. And that's why he's toying with him on Thrawn's ship with the pieces he brought from Lothal, trying to trick him into opening it. Right. And so for me, I kind of look at it like Ezra is the key to the world between worlds. And if they use it, it may just be to get back to this side of wherever they're of the universe, because it seems like they're on the uncharted regions. Wow.
Bro, we are getting to you. Okay. Did you even read the title of the stream? God. So anyways, yeah, I don't know. Look, for me, yeah, sure. I think when a lot of people think about multiverses and different timelines and stuff like that, like, oh my, it should be this huge thing and it's got to be explained down to this little, and it's like, dude, it's Star Wars. I just don't think about it like that crazy. And if it does, I mean, look, like you said, you're never going to make anybody happy or everybody happy. But no. For me, it's never going to happen. But it'd be such an easy way to like appease one section of the fans while also keeping the other section of the fans happy. You still create content for each timeline. You know what I mean? And we'll see which one succeeds.
They'll never do that though.
I know they won't. I know.
And because like obviously I've said quite a bit. I'm probably a bigger Lost nerd than a Star Wars nerd, to be honest. But here's the thing. So the same team that made Lost, right? They went down that rabbit hole of we're going to try and explain everything, and they didn't. And they couldn't because they were trying to explain things that aren't
it's hard.
Real. It's hypothetical, right?
It's theoretical physics.
And then to make it palatable with, a 1 hour TV show. So, but then what the same team did is they went to a show called Once Upon a Time. And if you've watched Once Upon a Time, essentially they did the same kind of stuff, but their answer for everything that didn't make sense, where it's like, how does this work timeline-wise, was magic.
It's magic.
And spells. And they went hard trying to explain it, and then they're like, that didn't really work, so let's go the other way and not explain anything, and magic solves everything. And what happened is it just didn't compute. So I think in Star Wars, the problem is Star Wars people dig deep and they want to know all the questions and all the answers. So I don't think they're going to touch things that they can't explain. Because right now, with the events of the sequels, they're going back. And I saw Braden talk about retcons a little bit in the comments. They're going back and they're adding little pieces of information to say, here's how it makes sense. And when it comes down to it, I just don't like those pieces of information that lead to that. That's just my personal opinion.
It's not time travel.
What's that?
Timelines, it's not time travel.
No, it's a multiverse. It's technically not time travel. It's a multiverse.
Right.
Right. It is not time travel. And I think that's where now the world between worlds can be a time machine, so to speak.
Yeah, it is. Clearly is. It already was. He went back in time and pulled Ahsoka out. So I don't want to hear that like they would never touch that. They would never do that. They already did it.
But my point is, I don't think they can do it without Ezra. Is my point. I think if you're
boys,
what's that?
He's coming.
No, I know, but I don't think you can't do it without Ezra. And somebody put up a post about the Emperor getting through the door. The Emperor got through the door because he had his spell had a hold of Ezra, and it's basically like it was showing him a map how to do it. So the closer Ezra got to the portal, the more the Emperor could come in, right? And that's why when Ahsoka slashed it, it burned the Emperor's hand because he didn't know the full way there yet, right? And so I personally think that Ezra is the only one that can unlock it. But points. Oh, Chase is like, having fun now, aren't you? But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time and there's a lot bigger things going on in the next year. But I think that you will see, I mean, if that poster holds any weight at all, and the wardrobe is any indication in a let's say a pearl, right? Then we may be leading to that. So don't be surprised. And if you're going to throw all your Star Wars toys away, just mail them to my PO box, Coach. That includes you. I know you're probably watching, but if they do that and you throw all your toys away, I'll send you the PO box number. You can just send them over here. But because that's what Coach said last time he was out. If that's where they go. So if you guys are out too, just send me all your toys.
Also, what was that
you started talking about like timelines and all of this, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, by the way, PO box, send me your toys.
Send them to me. If you're out, if that's my point is the poster.
Oh, dude, I see the bingo thing. That's cool how it's lit up.
The Happa.
Getting the Happa.
If the poster is any indication, those are his Last Jedi robes.
I will also take donations. Send your checks to my PO box.
Cash, check, or credit cards, whatever you guys like. But yeah, I just feel like if that poster is any indication of what we have to see in the future, maybe in a Luke Grogu show or special or mini series or something, and he's in that garb, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction we're heading.
Yeah.
Dude, I think 1,000%. So I want to just talk on this because Arlena's like, what if Ezra's the only one that can do it? I don't think that's true solely because Ahsoka was in there. I know he pulled her in, but why was Morai there if she can't access the world between worlds?
Morai is technically the daughter technically.
Yeah, she's hers now. I mean, they're bound. You know what I mean?
Morai can come in. Morai comes in and out of random like space, right? She doesn't go through port. Like, so I think, yeah, Morai as the daughter, I think can manifest anywhere Ahsoka is. That's where she tends to manifest, but she doesn't like actively take her with her. She just tends to manifest when Ahsoka's around as like a protector, so to speak. But I don't think she. I think she can transition in and out of the Force. Like we saw Yoda, right? Kind of in a world between worlds situation with Ezra in the Lothal Temple, right? Ezra was actually standing on a platform in the world between worlds talking to Yoda Force Ghost. So if Yoda can manifest himself there as a Force Ghost, Morai being the daughter, being a more powerful entity than even Yoda, can manifest herself anywhere she chooses, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'll show you here.
Well, here's the thought I have too. Think about before Rebels, if you were told what would happen with the Mortis gods, and if you're told what would happen with Bendu and all of these things, wouldn't you be like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that would come into Star Wars.
Right. And
so I think really anything's kind of on the table, but I mean, for me, like I really like Rebels, but it's like I don't dislike. I actually really like Mortis and Bendu and all this, but it does enter a realm that we haven't really seen before in Star Wars, especially live action and animation, and so for me, thinking about all the things that could happen with the world between worlds, I don't write it off as a possibility. I just don't think they would use the world between worlds to change the events of the sequels. I feel like maybe that would be like a portal into some stuff we haven't seen before. I just don't know. I just don't know that they would actually go that far and touch that, because I don't see that as a priority for them.
Wasn't he
I think
accessing that in Vader Immortal? I don't know if you guys saw that.
this comment right here.
He's trying to talk to Padme. I mean, this just kind of goes along with it. But in Vader Immortal, he's in there. I don't remember if it was the world between worlds or not.
I thought it.
Wasn't it just in his meditation chamber?
No, he was on Mustafar.
Well, and he did he also pushed past the veil of like, isn't that? Are you talking about when his spirit was like all white, where his
This is
limbs?
the Vader Immortal VR game.
Okay, because there's the comic too where he pulls back the veil of space and time and like goes through a journey where he's all black and swirly and his arms and legs that are all gone are like white, and he goes through this. I don't know if it was a meditation sequence or what it was, but he goes through this journey where he also searches for Padme. So I'm not too sure, but
I'm not putting stuff in a poster. Grogu's lightsaber could be purple for all we know, bro. You never know. He could be a Vape-Pod practitioner. You never know.
I think the whole thing with the poster, though, for me, it's like, so look at the Heart of the Jedi, right? It was taken down, and there hasn't been a direct release from Disney saying, hey, this is taken down. But there's stuff that technically they have rights to that wasn't allowed to be put out there. I mean, here's the thing. Start trying to like create a StarWarsMerch.com and just rip off Star Wars stuff, make all your stuff, and try and sell Star Wars stuff. Like, you're going to find out really quickly Disney does not take lightly to that.
Oh, no.
They have the rights. So when stuff's on a poster, they commissioned it. They said okay.
Yeah.
And they're not just going to like release stuff. So I think that's why people are like,
valid point. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, talking from a secondhand perspective on this, my understanding is it's better to ask permission than forgiveness with Disney.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like if you want to sell a shirt, right? You go to them and say, "Look, I have this shirt I'm interested in making," and they're like, you're not going to make enough money. So let's call it $300 for that license, right? Like they're going to make you pay a license fee, and there's going to be a contract, just like this dude. This dude got a certain number he was allowed to make, and that was it. And now he's going back to try to get the opportunity to make more, and they have the right to say, "Sorry, limited run," and be done with it. So yeah, I mean, they're commissioning this all the way to the top, and getting permission to do this because the mouse doesn't play. I mean, look what they do to YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, look at your monetization stuff, right? Like it's tough because the mouse doesn't allow it.
Go, Braden, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. You just said it right there. I'm telling you, Star Wars does not have MCU-style multiverse. Ahsoka died in our timeline and wouldn't be magically revived by saving a different version of Ahsoka from another timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just takes her out of time for literally minutes and then puts her back, right? It's literally because you see Vader walking away after, and she's walking into the temple, and Morai is flying in to follow her, right? Like that. It wasn't a bunch of time later. She literally jumped back to her timeline in real time, and so did Ezra. So like the world between worlds is like neutral time.
What does this mean for Vader?
So here's something that maybe helps. This is the way I view the world between worlds. Not to dismiss the Vader thing for a second, but like, there's like a book, I believe it's called like Flat Worlders or Flatliners, something like that. Basically, it's talking. Yes, it's talking about dimensions. So like, if you think about if you were a two-dimensional being, the way you would see like a three-dimensional object like a balloon, it would start as a because all you don't see the depth of a third dimension. So you would see a single point of the balloon, and then it would become a circle, and it would come back to a point because you're seeing a three-dimensional object pass through the second dimension. For us as three-dimensional beings, the fourth dimension is considered time. So it would be like if you were a fourth dimensional being, we would see like X-Wing right now from inception to his death, all as this massive string of his life.
What did he say?
So what
Oh,
we're
yeah, I love
seeing
this.
is we're seeing we're seeing your 4-dimensional life pass through a third dimension. So that's why we see you age and progress, and we see these snippets of your entire time of your life. So I see the world between worlds as this place that exists almost in like a fourth dimension. It exists where you can see all time, but it can't change time.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it, and there's actually a way where, like Ahsoka is, like Obsession said, she's literally pulled out of this space to where all of a sudden she has access to everything that has ever happened. And that's what these doors are. And she's placed back into a certain point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, that's why I don't think like you could go and necessarily change things. It becomes that paradox of like what happened in the world between worlds is like what's always happened.
Yes.
And we're seeing this snippet of time that it's
Yes.
like, okay, so that's how that happened, but we didn't know that.
Bro, what a good way to explain it. Thank you, because you illustrated
not
what's
a
in my
smug
brain
Man.
way, way better than I did.
No,
That-
that totally, dude. That's a way. Yeah,
Right. And that's why no
Hire me, Disney, please.
that's why no time
I'll
passes.
take a remote salary of $600,000 a year.
It would be all over that.
Right,
They're
and-
like, oh, somebody hire Christopher Nolan now.
I-
Get Christopher Nolan in here.
I feel like the Emperor wants to not use it to necessarily take Anakin out of time and bring him forward. I feel like he wants to go and tell himself, much like Time Cop. That's why I brought it up. I think he wants to go back and just tell himself what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot foresee what is coming. This is your downfall, right? And really like tell him what's what. Maybe have a Force lightning like, ha, because they don't believe each other. And then him tell him, look, this is what's coming. When this happens, this is what you got to do. Otherwise, you're going to get thrown down the mouse hole and you're dunskies, right? So I feel like that's more of how the world between world could be used rather than, because Ahsoka said it, like, if you take Kanan out of time, you all die.
Mm-hmm.
That creates a paradox where you don't belong here.
Yep.
So the second you walk back into the physical world, you're a man out of time because you're technically dead, right? And so that's they kind of touched on it a little bit, like, Ezra, you can't do this because you're all in that hover in the ship, and if he's not there to protect you, your ship blows up and you're all dead.
So really, yeah, you're talking about basically, Jace. You're talking about the end of Interstellar when he's seeing all
Exactly.
possible realities at the same time and just affecting one of them.
But instead of it
And-
being like him, he has a path to each point in time. There's a doorway to each point,
Yeah.
basically, in
Mhm.
time, and you can see it and view it and maybe take like a person out of time, but ultimately that does affect the physical realm. That's
Right. Is what he
And-
did with gravity and the dust and everything.
And I think part of the whole thing with Kanan too is I think there are, I don't know if you want to call it laws, or there's this you can just say the Force. There's a binding will of the Force where you cannot change what has happened, because then that would mean that you weren't there to change what has happened. And so it's like the timeline is the timeline, but it does get to that place where you're like, you can't fully comprehend it, because otherwise you go into the realm of like the Butterfly Effect, that movie, where, you know, it's such a good movie. The sequels suck for the Butterfly
the
Effect,
sequels
but
suck. The original was
they're so bad. But when he keeps going back and changing something, then like somebody else's life is screwed up. So then he's like, well, I'm going to go back and change that in their life.
Yeah.
And when it just keeps getting worse and worse. And sure, that would be cool in Star Wars, but then that was the whole point of the Butterfly Effect, is like, if this was possible, don't do this. And it's a tragedy.
Of course,
And-
has will. It's the wills. They
yeah.
work a certain way.
And it would be cool, like, if maybe they went down that road, if there was like an arc in some animated series or a comic book where somebody actually got access and tried to change something, and maybe all of a sudden we see this
wills.
side of the Force and the wills where it's like they actually physically stop and restrain, and you know, you get some you can get some crazy like Superman,
All right,
like
this is
prison,
where-
all this stuff.
I'll jump in on this because you guys are now my like string theorists and all that. Okay, so Obsession, this is the one way I think this could work. I think if they incorporated the wills and said what happened to Luke had to happen the way it did, because if it didn't, this is what would happen.
Mhm.
And maybe Ezra and Ahsoka try to go back and they try to change it and they try to bring Luke back and something crazy happens. He ends up killing Thrawn, and then the Grisk come and wind up basically like destroying the galaxy because, you know, Luke killed Thrawn and Thrawn was the only person that could save us from the Grisk. You know what I mean?
Well, and what if it's the wills? Like, what if they're in the world between worlds and the wills do what they did to Yoda and like put him in these force meditations where Ahsoka and Ezra are leading the same basically force vision from the wills, showing them what happens if they bring, like you said, this is what will happen if you change Luke Skywalker's destiny, right? And then you see the killing of Thrawn, the Chiss showing up, the entire this galaxy getting taken over, and you know that I think that would be a cool way to use not only the world between worlds but also incorporate the wills again in live action, which would be dope to see.
Mm-hmm.
Those entities would be so rad in live action.
I think that's probably that would have been the end goal for George, because he was definitely headed that way.
Right. And I think now that George is back on board, I think that, like I say, I think there is a possibility that these 3 to 4 men, including Rob Rodriguez, because now he's in the inner circle, I think those 4 guys are on a journey to not retcon, not repair, just give us a path that makes sense, right? That isn't just a shit show of an explanation, but a real deep dive, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be, and I think these are the 4 guys to do it, right? Now that the people that messed up aren't in charge anymore and are just there collecting a paycheck, basically, and are on borrowed time, or on other projects like the High Republic and stuff like that they're still sussing out. But this new stuff, they're not getting. The old regime isn't getting as, I don't think, their hands on as much as they were before. I think the Bryce Dallas, the Rob Rodriguez's, you know, the Jon Favreau's, and are the ones that are going to be pushing forward from here on out, and it giving us an explanation, because those people as fans are just as upset as we are, right?
And
like,
you know, Anthony's saying, I don't want the Mandalorian saga to be the explanation for the horrible writing. I don't think the Mandalorian saga will be.
No, I think this
lead a lot more into Luke and Ahsoka and that branch of where they're going. And then we're also going to have the Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Rangers of the New Republic. That's going to be kind of its own thing. And then I think there's also going to be this kind of more like lore dive section of it that we're going to have with maybe even Andor. You might even be able to put that into it. Ahsoka, Luke coming in and kind of having his own shtick there. I think there's a story deep dive, and then there's like oh cool laser swords and explosions kind of side. So I think they're really trying to branch it out to have both sides.
Well, and let's be honest here. This all really wasn't planned. I mean, yeah, Kenobi was kind of in the hopper, right, already, because they had already messed that up once. But I feel like they wrote Mando not knowing how it would be received, and it got such great praise, and the fandom loved it across the board. I don't know many Star Wars fans that are like, oh, the Mandalorian was crap. I hated everything about it. I don't know one.
I know a couple.
Right? So
yeah, I know a couple, but it's just because Disney.
Okay, well that's a damn shame. But because it's a really great show.
Yeah.
But like I said, you can't make there's always going to be an opinion that is not like the rest, right? That's how we're bred as humans.
You could have an omnipotent and omniscient perfect
we're
leader.
Humans, we're always going to feel that way.
Well,
but
Let me ask you guys this. Before we get way too far from it, when you made the comment, about the wills, and I'm thinking about George Lucas's original plan with Star Wars, The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, from the Journal of the Wills, or as told from the Journal of the Wills. I think. Do you think they would? I guess there's kind of two parts to this. What do you think George's plan was eventually for kind of revealing what exactly the Journal of the Wills were? Do you think there was one, or is it just more of this mystical kind of like the Book of Life, this kind of thing? And do you think they as in Disney, the story group at Lucasfilm, all of this, do you think they'll go in a direction where they start touching some of these things like the wills, or do you think it just gets like this conversation? It just gets too big and too heady, and it's better to keep it a mystery. Like, I'm curious if they'll go that direction.
To a degree, I don't think they're going to use George's original vision, because his vision was basically that the wills were watching this as like a TV show.
Yeah.
That was George's vision, is that the wills were basically watching this as like Rick and Morty interdimensional cable. I don't think they're going to go that direction per se.
Would you ever have like a End of the Matrix with like the Maker? Do you think that was ever a direction where it's kind of like somebody accesses that? Because I'm just curious for what George wanted at the end with the wills. Like,
I feel like we kind of got that intro in Clone Wars. I mean, I think we kind of see what their purpose is. Now this is going to sound crazy that I'm going to go off on another sci-fi tangent or fantasy, but Stargate did an arc talking about ascension, and that's basically what Jedi do, is they shed their physical body and become one with the universe, right? One with the Force. And so there's an arc in Stargate where Anubis tricks one of the ascended into helping him ascend, and then hence an evil Force ghost, so to speak. And so for me, I feel like the wills are kind of in a same predicament, right? Their purpose is to help or not help Jedi ascend into like they did with Qui-Gon, right? They tried to get Qui-Gon to become the first of his generation. They could have been doing this for generations, right? For a millennia, taking one or two Jedi, teaching them the ways to transition into the Force, and then kind of waiting for the next, batch, so to speak, of students. So, they tried to teach Qui-Gon. That didn't go well. They taught Yoda. Yoda taught Ben. Ben taught Anakin, and so on and so forth. So for me, I would almost like to see the world between worlds used as a meditation place to learn from the Jedi gone by, right? Where their Force ghosts can manifest, and you might get to see Anakin Skywalker teaching saber technique as a Force ghost in this, almost like if you're a Dragon Ball person, the hyperbolic time chamber, where they go in and they learn, 2 years worth of fighting in 30 days, right? Same kind of premise, where you can basically level up in this space that has no time, and then you go back and you're leveled up, right? I would almost like to see the communication between Force ghosts and the knowledge passed on that way, instead of sacred Jedi texts, right? If they're going to use the world between worlds, I would like that to be an interesting way to use it.
The Matrix.
Training room in the Matrix, yeah, basically.
Yeah, I don't like that. The thing that I love so much about the original trilogy and what they did so well is that everything was so organic. Everything was extremely organic.
Yeah.
Stuff took time. You had to work at it. It was not an easy task to become a Jedi. There was so much that was unknown to Luke about, all these mysteries of the Force, and Yoda could have whooped his butt in a heartbeat. Even still, he's on his deathbed. I guarantee he still could have whooped Luke right before he died. But, you didn't know these things. And as we flesh this universe out more and more, some of those questions start to get answered, and I almost don't like it in a way. I think there's a way we can move forward in the universe while still keeping things mysterious. So, when it comes to the wills, I don't want a definitive answer. I don't want to know what Grogu's species is. I don't want to know how the wills work. I don't want to understand the world between worlds, you know what I mean, and have them harness that power. The mysterious factor when it comes to the Force, when it comes to everything that we don't really have a grip on, it has to stay that way in the Star Wars universe. Otherwise, we lose the sense of wonder.
Mm-hmm. I think in storytelling, what works so well in the original trilogy is that whole line of "in a galaxy far, far away." You know, there's this idea where it's like your real life in some distant place with foreign technology to you, and they're drawing from all of this metaphysical and religious, I guess, philosophy about the Force. And there's this aspect of there's people who don't believe in, you know, the ancient, you know, mystics, and there's people who do, and they embrace it because of events that have happened with the Clone Wars and Order 66. But then, like you said, I love the mystery. Not everything's explained, and there are parts that I like explained, like when Obi talks about the Clone Wars in A New Hope. I like that they went back and explained that and fleshed it out. But I think you're right. There's some parts that are so big when you start to touch that, like this whole conversation, like it has to go exactly right. But even then, it's not going to make everybody happy. It's probably just going to create a bigger divide.
Oh, it will.
And it's almost better, like the kind of circling all the way back, the whole idea of do all roads lead to the sequel trilogy right now. I think it's almost best just to not try and explain everything in such a way that it's like this crazy, we're jumping around, having almost alternate stuff going on. I'm in the camp of I would rather just have the cards lay where they are, because I don't think Disney's changing it. Would I like them removed? I'm going to say yes, I would, but it's not going to happen. So I'm in a place where I'm like, I will accept what's there. I don't have to like it. It's not for me, but I want if there's content about that, cool. I want a lot of content that doesn't even touch that. Like the whole point of ending the Skywalker saga was to move on from that. And I feel like it's a bait and switch. What's happened is we just keep going back to explain the Skywalker saga through different characters. Like, let's get into realms where it's not even touching this. Like, take me to the Outer Rim. Show me stuff that's going on out there.
Just space.
In this 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, take me there, man. Just show me brand new stuff. Like, yeah, force spank the like button. But that's kind of the camp I'm in, because I feel like, I don't know, I don't think that they're going to do all this crazy stuff on the business side. I don't think they're going to do all this crazy stuff on the story writing side. I think they're going to keep it simple. They're going to do what's been working, because it is fragile right now. And I don't think they're going to take big risks. I think they're going to find what's successful and just do it over and over and over again. And maybe in like 5-10 years, we'll get some risk. But the risk they took didn't, you know, in what the past, how many years have been? 6 years? It hasn't really worked for them.
It's been 6 years.
Yeah, since 2015. That was the transition, right?
Damn.
I mean, at the end, like, because Obsession brings this up, you got to think about Disney, not Star Wars. You got to think about Disney. You look at how much money they make, and each sequel, 7, 8, and 9, they spent more money and they made less. And so what they're trying to do now is recoup. And you even see like how box office sales are going and all the crazy stuff there with movies coming out and premiere access on Disney Plus. They're just trying to like, let's make this IP profitable again. Because I would not want to be in the meetings where you have a Bob telling you lost hundreds of millions of dollars. You know,
that's a real comfortable meeting.
I can't imagine the pressure of that level of leadership. And so I think what they're doing now is they've been like, okay, you know, we will do what we can to get people interested in Star Wars again. Because
but that's why leadership changed, right? I mean, that's that's not a and for anybody that doesn't know, those decisions are made and they are not easy decisions to make. Head of story at a major film company, at a major IP, whether it's Marvel, DC, Star Wars, whatever, it's that story, that decision is not just made by one person. That decision is made oftentimes by a board. That decision is told to the CEO by the board, and most times those decisions are like you said, those decisions are about dollars. And they looked at the entire run of 2015 to 2020. Well, let's call it 2019. And then they looked at one story that these guys did with Mandalorian, and they're like, wait a minute. These two jabronis, these two guys right here, my friends over here, made this show. And you guys are supposed to be the story group, and you had all the money in the world and all the time in the world.
3 movies.
And you blew it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're going to try that guy for a little bit. Right. And so these decisions didn't happen overnight. The fact that we didn't get told about it for a year means that happened 2 years ago. Right. And so that decision was made by a board or a CEO 2 years ago and then implemented over the course of a year. And then we heard a year later. Right.
Well,
so
you got to realize that suits who know nothing about Star Wars whatsoever, they know one thing, and it's money. And if they're not making it, they're going to change something to make sure that they're making it.
And these decisions were made pre-pandemic, right? Like we got the story during the pandemic, but these decisions were made pre-pandemic. This stuff was already in line because Mando had already been made. And as soon as the outcry of awesomeness was said about Mando, they're like, yeah, you're hired. Pivotal.
I honestly think that is like, there are things that happen in our lifetime. That was one of the most pivotal moments in pop culture history since I don't know when. I can't tell you how many people I saw like screaming and crying on the internet that we got to see Luke like that again. That doesn't happen every day. You know what I mean? You're thinking about something that's been 40, 50 years in the making that turned around and happened. People were losing their minds. You can't tell me the investor doesn't look at that and go, ching.
Oh, right, for sure. I mean, look at the art. I mean, not only posters, but look at the toys and stuff and the price tag on those toys that are getting commissioned and Disney's getting their cut, right? Like that was a big power move.
Just
right?
spent $30 on a Mandalorian season 2 Luke.
Right. And so the fact that these two guys wrote this show, the first season, and did the first season not knowing if it would be a success.
Yeah.
And then it was this huge success. And the Bobs looked at each other and go, should we give that guy a try? Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. Like, did we just become best friends? Yup. Right. Like that. It was that kind of moment. And then that's when Dave took over, started making Clone Wars season 7. Because that's really when it started, guys, is when they decided to make Clone Wars season 7, Dave's like, this is my jumping off point. I have to make this right before I make Bad Batch, and then we're gonna make this Mando season 2 in the middle, right? Like there was a plan of attack here, and Dave has been executing his battle plan right now flawlessly, and I anticipate that to continue, right? And so I know everybody's still worried about Kenobi, and I know everybody's still worried about the content coming, but I would say, if you haven't bought any stock in Disney, get on Robinhood. Spend $1, spend $10, whatever you can afford on Disney, because I think 2022 January, I think that stock hits 200 shares. 200.
I put $15 in a week because I know they're going to be moved. Okay, all right. So we got to move on. We beat this thing down to death. I want to leave it on one note, one final thing, and it's not up for discussion.
The sequels suck.
Yeah, right. So I have to wonder, do they understand just why their risks haven't worked? With the new people in charge, guess we're going to find out, fingers crossed. So I think what's probably happening is that, the right people are now making decisions. We're witnessing growing pains when it comes to the Star Wars IP, and I think we're headed in the right direction. But B, I think we've been heard a little bit as fans. There's no way that you don't notice what your audience likes or doesn't like. Even me with 760 people watching. If I do something terrible, people are going to be like, hey, that's garbage. You probably shouldn't do that again. You know, you're not going to not notice. And the amount of fan interaction with them, even though we didn't get anything really back from Lucasfilm except for some negative stuff, I think they're listening. They've heard. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we can just cut it there, call it good, move on to this little show called Bad Batch. I don't know if you guys have been watching that at all.
I have been.
I have.
Which is a stark contrast from a little while ago.
I just got some Clone Wars, Clone Force 99 toys.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you did. Why don't you show us what you found?
So I got these little guys. See, so Hunter. It's interesting because I had to actually find them.
Can you zoom in a little closer?
Yeah.
That's Hunter, right? And it's unique than the other toys. The other toys don't have paint on their faces like these do. Like, so Hunter in this version, in the Clone Wars version, his headband, right, is unique, and like the helmets and everything is really unique on these four, and it's just the four. It's before Tech joined the group. So
okay, so this is Clone Force 99 in Clone Wars, not Bad Batch Season 1. Bad Batch.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's I had to do some digging, and I had to really, because
something.
Oh no, they're I mean, basically I found the sets for like, maybe $10-15, and then if you split them out, they're like, maybe $10 a piece if you part them out. But I think we're going to give away a bunch. I think we're going to put some in a box, and I think we're just going to give some away. So that gives us another opportunity to use the hopper.
There you go, man.
That is such a good idea, man. That hopper.
Thank you.
Really, really, really good idea. I was a little jealous. I'm like, dang, that is such a good idea.
Yeah, Daryl.
Like, it's so unique.
Daryl.
I'm stealing it.
Yeah, Daryl's like, I don't care. I'm doing that. I'm stealing. He even sent me a thing in the Discord. He's like, bro, that was awesome. I'm totally doing it. Hope it's not a thing. And I was like, dude, I don't own bingo pullers. I don't have the right copyright. That's fine.
You're gonna send him a cease and desist to his PO box.
Yeah.
How dare you?
And just so you guys know, these are the WM blocks for the Clone Wars that came out. But anyway, those were a lot of fun.
I wanted to comment just really quick. X-Wing, show me the Rock character action figure. Funny story about that, actually. Before I had YouTube, just because I was out there trolling, I was real upset about Geode, even though I never read the book. I probably should have read the book first, but I actually was on a job site, and I went down and picked a rock up out of the garden and took a picture in my hand, and I posted 6 different listings on eBay, Craigslist, I think a couple different Star Wars collecting groups, and I said, first edition Geode, never been opened. I put it up for like $1,200.
Nice.
It's hilarious.
A lot of people had fun with it, and then there were the people like, this isn't funny. You shouldn't do this. That's not funny. I'm like, come on.
That was no, come on. I mean, The Big Bang Theory did a joke about the same thing, about a Harry. I bought this thing on eBay, and the kid just sent me a stick, and he put a number on it, and he's like, "Oh, collector's edition is supposed to be a Harry Potter one."
Like,
It's funny because it's stuff that actually happens. That's why it's funny.
I guess. Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen like the replicas for like Indiana Jones and stuff? There's some stupid ones. Like, I'm pulling it up on eBay now. If I see it, I'm going to interject again and show you, because they'll just have like the most ridiculous stuff where it'll be like,
correct,
like the gloves that Indiana Jones wore. And it's like, bro, you're selling garden gloves. Like, you dirtied up some garden gloves, but people buy them. Mm-hmm. That's what's nuts, for like $150. It's like,
wait, what?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. I found my new job.
Yeah,
dude, I'm like, are you serious? Like, you just,
dude, just get some of the googly eyes that with super glue and just stick them on, and then like get some little arms like what's the sport guy in the new Toy Story? And then just be like,
what
this
is his name?
This is Geode, Sporky or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you just do them like that, right? Just like
okay, so like I have one. I'm just gonna pull this up just for whatever, and then we can talk about Bad Batch. Just because this is, I was looking for like Star Wars replicas, and this came up when I was looking. Indiana Jones, apple for Dr. Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a green apple.
It looks
It's a
fake
wax
too.
apple. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
wax
Wax apple.
Yeah.
There it is. $8.
$8.
Shipping, $8.50.
There you go.
And you know they're using Shipmate or one of the shipping apps. It's like 3 cents to ship something.
Yeah.
So we just got to find some fruit in Star Wars and
We'll
start
make it-
selling it in mass.
Ooh, Anakin's pear.
Yes, Anakin's
I'm
pear.
going to start selling Anakin's pear.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Like Obi-Wan would be very grumpy and then like write Hayden Christensen and like terrible text on it. And just,
Oh, you could have like sand from Tatooine.
yes.
Good
Yeah.
one.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right, you jokers. We got to talk about Bad Batch. You guys don't even want to talk about Bad Batch.
Oh man, it's tough to it's tough to talk about.
What are you talking about? I'm so pumped for tonight.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
I have one question. Can you guys help out and elaborate this? Am I wrong in remembering that there was only one season planned and they were going to cover everything, or was that just speculation off of the info we were given? Because it came out of left field, season 2. I thought it was going to be 16 episodes were done. I don't really have like a negative opinion on it. I'm just wondering how the second season came about. Was it planned and a surprise?
They
Or-
probably had 2 scenarios at least partially written out, and then they're going to see how it went. And if it received well, like, okay, let's continue to take the season in this direction. And if it was not received well, then, okay, we got to do the finale this way.
I'll know more when the next season's air date is announced.
Right.
That'll-
If
how
it's
long-
like a year and a half away, they're like, they had no idea, bro.
Yeah, but if it's up in 6 months, the soon as the first episode aired, they started the next
Yeah.
season.
I got it.
So
Okay.
I think the premiere, I think everybody shit their pants at the premiere, and they're like, okay, everybody get back to work. But I think Favreau and Filoni already had the storylines mapped out, so they could just keep going. Yeah,
Or
because
not.
I mean, like I said, I think Dave's playing 4D chess, and we're still playing Chinese checkers. You know, we're
Yeah.
he's on another level, and he's got George there by his side. So I think it definitely was planned, but I agree. I think that maybe Disney didn't greenlight it until Bad Batch premiered, and then they looked at each other, and the Bobs were like, "Greenlight that shit." I got my grandkids ran in here saying how awesome it was.
Yeah, I think after the first episode aired and people were freaking out about it, they're like, okay, pull the trigger.
Yeah.
That's how I feel also.
So tonight, who's dying? Because I had a really interesting conversation with Star Wars Santa today. Actually, I didn't. I was in his chat, but we were talking about what was going to happen with Bad Batch tonight, and everybody seems to be convinced that Hunter's going to die. I say shenanigans, because who's going to take over as the show lead? If Hunter dies, who's going to take over? There's nobody that has the same amount of charisma, leadership capability. Like, it's just not the same. Echo, maybe
it's Rex.
Rex would take over the Bad Batch.
It's got to be. They would.
I don't think anyone's gonna die.
They would fold into.
Ross's gonna die, for sure.
I think they would fold into the existing rebellion if Hunter dies.
Right.
I think Rex takes them into the fold, and they
My
start.
thought was, I have like a whole prediction for the whole thing.
Then lay it on us.
Okay, so
You
here's
do
what,
yours, I'll do mine.
all right. So this is what's going to happen. They're going to wind up in a big fight. I don't know how. I don't have that part figured out yet. Okay, Crosshair is going to be redeemed in that fight and be killed, saving his brothers. Okay, so he gets his glorious hero redemption. Fennec Shand is going to show up and wind up saving Omega and have to leave with Omega which will eventually lead into her meeting Boba Fett. She's going to be separated from the Bad Batch, and then Rex, Gregor, and the Bad Batch are going to go together and join the rebellion. And at some point, they're going to wind up on a mission where they're trying to steal an ATTE, and the entire Bad Batch dies. And Rex and Gregor, they wind up just staying with ATTE.
So you have that's not just for this episode. You're saying to the end of the series, like that's how this episode ties in.
This is moving into second season, and then something that could happen in the second season. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, I can see that a little bit, how that connects with just the rest of Star Wars that we have. Kind of my thought is this: I don't think anyone's gonna die. I think what's gonna happen is Crosshair is still going to be on the side of the Empire, and there's going to be this resistance. And what I think is going to happen is he's going to be pivotal in actually having Omega separated from the Bad Batch. And so I think the heartbreak is going to be Crosshair actually does something. I think they're going to make it. How about this? I didn't think about this till right now, this portion. Maybe they make it look like Hunter dies. Like Crosshair shoots him, takes Omega, and then it kind of just ends on this massive, like, dark cliffhanger. Like, Omega's separated. How's she going to be safe? Everything looks like it's bad. And then next season you find out Hunter didn't really die. And maybe it's like you see him move a little bit, right? Kind of like an Inception with the top.
You're going for like an Empire Strikes Back ending.
I think they're going to be, it's just going to be like, what the heck? Like, this is not what I wanted. Because I think when this show works really well for me, it's when they create that tension where it's like, oh, what's going to happen like this? Because you know that at the end of this, the Bad Batch does not survive. There's no way. There's no way that they survive. So I think they're going to create even more tension, and then they're going to make us wait. I think they're going to make us wait a calendar year until season 2. That's what I think. I would love if they surprised us, and we're like, hey, in the fall, surprise release. But I think they're going to create massive tension and just get people talking about it. So that's, I mean, granted, I'm probably going to be 100% wrong, but that's what I think.
That's the fun part.
Well, okay, so the guys all were on Kamino while they got shot at from starships. We definitely have to find out. We're not going to get Wolf this season, obviously. So there's no Wolf this season. That'll be a story for next season. I mean, we already got Gregor, so that's positive steps. But into completing that arc and finding out how those boys ended up on Cerelia, I think was the planet. I just rewatched that episode.
I don't remember.
So I think there's some of that. I think maybe if they do a deep season 2 or a season 3, maybe depending on what happens, we could see the fulcrum scene from the end of the Ahsoka novel.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could see the Bail Organa scene in the in his quarters when she broke into his ship and lights her sabers and explains that. I think we might get that either in live action or in animation.
Season 2. That's got to be end of season 2.
Well, because time has to go by because she's in hiding for quite a while, right? So it just depends on where that. But I think we're more likely to. I think we're more likely to get that story in the Ahsoka show. I think we're more likely to see that in live action, possibly. Maybe get the back of Bail's head, not necessarily a full. I don't know if he's still alive or how he's aged. The actor that played Bail Organa.
Oh, dude, he looks great.
Okay, then put him right back in makeup and get him in the makeup chair, get him in some costume, and let's get that Bail Organa back up and rolling and see that scene with a slightly deep faked younger Rosario.
Yeah.
Right. And and maybe a shorter Montrals, or maybe just leave them the same, I guess. And then and we see that scene in his. That would be awesome. But I think, what if? I mean, they put so much Vest in Omega. I can't really see them doing anything with her.
So that's my question: is if she's so important, why have we never heard of her?
She's important to the cloning, and we didn't get anything after the cloning after Kamino, right? Like, you had Palpatine's secret facilities, but that's really the only cloning that was going on in the galaxy after they killed all the Kaminoans.
I mean, if you add Legends, I guess you would call it EU at that point. It would be Force Unleashed. There's definitely another city. Tamara City was in Battlefront 2 and Force Unleashed.
I have an idea about Omega. I don't know that they'll go this dark. And hear me out. I know you put an end to the prior first hour. But I think you have Nala say she had her secret little laboratory, right? That nobody knew about. And there's this, basically they explained it with the Kaminoans like to keep their secrets. And what I think is happening, so they killed Lama Su, I think for sure, 100%. They didn't show it. Lama Su's dead. Nala Se is being used to try and perfect cloning technology because Palpatine's whole desire is to beat death and to live forever. And he did until episode 9. And so what I think is that that Omega is being pulled away for that purpose. I don't know how exactly she fits in, but I think Nala Se is also going to die. But I think basically what's happening is Omega is getting pulled away to get sucked into this. And that's where I think kind of what I think happening and stuff. I would like to possibly see like the Bad Batch like skip ahead a while. Like maybe Omega just kind of is written off for a little bit. Or we see her like a year later and she's just in like battered shape. And basically she's just been like almost used and abused in a way to like make these clones for the Empire to try and figure this out. Kind of like when we see Echo again, and it's like you see how they used him.
Yeah,
they're like you're just a droid to us, basically. You're our property. I would not. It's hard. I don't know that they would do that to a little girl in Star Wars.
I mean, I don't think they have to go as deep as they did with Echo as far as like the deconstruction. I think just having her in a Bacta tank taking blood is enough, right? To show because that's one of the things that she talked about fearing, right? Like she was like, I really know what that's like. I know what you feel like when you're getting this done. There's no need to be scared, this, that, and the other. I think that's the thing about her, and I think that's where next season we could see that fear come to life in, if she does get pulled away, if she does end up on the second Kamino site, or she ends up in Palpatine's secret labs. I think just seeing her in a Bacta tank pounding against the glass or getting knocked out, drugged up and then dragged to a table to take blood samples and skin samples is enough of a torture scene with her to really show the anguish, I guess. With Echo, it was a show about war, so they needed with Echo, it was a shock, right? Like, oh my God, they look what they did, right? Like it wasn't just kill the soldier
W camp, basically.
Right, and he was the POW. So I think that with Omega, just seeing her back in hooked up to the machines, or the probe droid coming at her while she's hooked up and can't move.
Yeesh.
I think just seeing that kind of scene does it.
Like the stream to capture a command post. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Capture a command post.
I think I had this question running through my mind. Would the story group and Disney go that dark? And I think they would, because think about Grogu. When Grogu was introduced, everybody freaked out and he was so loved. I mean, he's 50 years old, but he was loved. Everybody, Baby Yoda, right? He was called the child, but everybody called him Baby Yoda. And do you know how many times I was like, if they do something to Grogu, I don't know if that was everybody's feeling, but I was like, I'm going to be so mad. And that whole scene in The Mandalorian when he is captured and they've pulled blood and, you know, he's like, basically he's kind of drained for a moment, all of this. Like, that's, when you think about it, that's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Like, really what they did is they took a baby, an infant in that species, and they started doing testing and all of this. There's some pretty messed up stuff that they recently did. So
and
I would
holding a sword over his head and like moving it over his head like he's gonna kill him. I mean, that's dark.
So I mean, I don't think they would. What was that?
I don't think the cartoon is where they're gonna do that though.
I don't think they would show it directly. I think they would allude to it. Because at the end of the day, it is a kid's show. I think the majority is adults that watch it, but I don't think that they would. I don't think they would show it. I think that they would infer a lot. Like, you even see how Omega reacts in that secret research lab.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, what was going on here? Like, is Nala Se messed up? You know, like,
she was doing the Emperor's work, though, right? I mean, that's ultimately what she was doing. I mean, she was very much involved in the bad inhibitor chip arc, right? And the Emperor was talking to her directly, saying, you know, bring me that chip and bring me this. So I feel like she is super messed up, right? She is a dark Kaminoan, right? I mean, as dark as they get, and she. She's obviously been doing experiments for Palpatine for years. She's obviously in on the big plan for years. And after, how do we know that? Here's something else we don't really know. How do we know that the clones caught her trying to escape? How do we know she didn't just call Palpatine and be like, "Hey, he's trying to gather all the scientists and get us out of here. You might want to make a phone call," right? Like that conversation could have happened because of the arc with the inhibitor chips. So I think she's dark. I think that she does care a little bit more about Omega than anything else, right? She let her go.
Yeah.
She was trying to get her out. I think after a certain point, it's almost like Stockholm syndrome, right? Where instead of it reversed. Instead of the hostage falling in love with the captive, the captor's falling in love with the victim. So I feel like there's a little bit of that messed up relationship. Like, she created her for a dark purpose, but she kind of fell in love with a baby that grew up next to her. So so I kind of feel like she is dark enough to do that kind of stuff, you know.
Wouldn't that be so crazy if they do make Nala Se this like really dark character, and then when you go back and you watch like Attack of the Clones and stuff, you're like,
she knew.
Like I know how you end up. Like, that would be, because I've always seen Nala Se as kind of this just like innocent, like middle, like they've known stuff, and then obviously the more content comes out, the more you watch, you're like, oh, there's something going on here. But if they just full on painted her as a dark character, like no more inferences, like they pull the veil back.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That'd be pretty wild.
In this episode, if we see her on the ship, basically being released by the guards, and has a hologram Palpatine shows up and tells her what a good job she's done and that she's headed to this facility to continue her research, I think that would be a bitchin' scene to show how dark she really is. She really is on the Emperor's side, because she knows that she knew the plan from Jump Street. You know, so yeah, feel better?
Yeah.
You just poop?
God, that would be a power deucer if it was, though, man. Once I got like 45 seconds.
Boom. Can I tell you a funny poop story?
Why not?
Why not?
Is this a baby poop story?
It is not. This is when I was like, I think I was 13, and I was over at my friend's house, and he used to play World of Warcraft all the time. Like I never got it. So anyway, he would always just be like lounging on his laptop, like literally laying down on the couch playing, right? I would just be like playing different games. And he like and he like put his laptop down and he literally runs to the bathroom and it sounded like he straight up took like a pitcher of water and like splashed it. And I'm like, dude, please tell me that was not your butt. And sure enough.
Hey, Lainey, how you doing?
It was. What a time to come in. I am sorry that you were just forced to listen to that. But yeah, man, that was wild.
I actually have a funny poop story from when I was a baby.
And this is where the stream is going.
Well, we're at a
This is where we're going to go up to 100 viewers. And,
I know, 100%. Yeah, and look, it's climbing. No, so I was in the back of my parents' Volvo station wagon, sitting in my car seat. And I start making some noise, and my dad looks back at me. Everything's fine. And then they're like, what is that? And they look back. Somehow, there was a perfect pile of poop on the seat next to me, even though I had a diaper on and was in my car seat. And the diaper was clean.
how does that work?
I used force, clearly.
Ghost. The ghost from your Phantom game.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's wild.
That's funny.
Normal boomer talk, yeah.
Yep.
Incontinence.
Back when we were in my mom's station wagon.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Awesome.
we got an hour and a half. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
So Bad Night.
Yeah. I mean that's pretty cool. I'm
good.
Actually,
Yeah.
some new gear.
Oh, yeah, but I can't show it because I can't move my
I know, but it's okay though.
thing.
It's cool, man.
You got some
That's
new
really
toy.
cool.
You know what
I loved what the community stream when you were using the bleep button. That was pretty cool.
you talking about?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good touch.
Yeah, we gave him more. We gave him something a little more user friendly.
I do have something actually.
Oh,
I sent you guys this in the little Boomer Council group chat we have on Discord.
Oh,
Would you like me to make that reveal about Sunday night
oh, stand by.
that I told you guys about?
sure, do it. You know me.
So for those of you who were on a community night and Star Trek Obsession came and was trying to redeem some points and X-Link showed up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yours truly. I took Average's spot as Meme Lord and had 2 accounts, Troll and Commander, and I had so much fun doing it.
I wish you hadn't revealed it. I kind of wanted them to stay a mystery forever.
Well,
It's out in the bag now.
Yeah.
I just loved so much. You were ignoring Star Trek Obsession, and you were like, we need to have like a mod chat or something. And then when X-Link showed up, you're like,
I was
that's
looking at
me.
because I'm like, is that my profile picture? I'm like, damn, I finally made it as a YouTuber, bro. I finally made it.
I was
Oh.
I was hoping it was Justin's trolls. That's what I hoped. I hoped that they had showed up because X-Wing's dying for Melvin to come and hang out with him.
Didn't you see he was in the Discord talking for a while? Him and his buddies.
Was that who was stirring up the pot earlier?
Yeah, it was Knights of Melvin. Well, I mean, it was kind of me actually, but
You were definitely egging it on.
A little bit.
sure. I mean, they're good conversations to have. We got to be able to talk about this stuff. You know what I mean?
To be honest, I don't even remember what we were talking about.
The first hour of the
Sequels.
stream, basically.
Oh, that's right, because that's what led to the whole stream conversation. So I'm sorry you guys couldn't come this weekend to the there's all these fancy YouTubers here in town.
Oh yeah. I wish I could go.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a pretty busy bar tonight.
Yeah.
You're going?
No, probably not. I might go. It just depends. I have to work,
Go.
I have to work tomorrow.
Already,
Go.
I have to work tomorrow. If I didn't have to work tomorrow.
Dude.
you have to work at 10 o'clock. I'm staying up
Well,
until 2
it's-
o'clock watching
more-
that, and then I
it's
got to be
more-
at work at 6.
It's more because of what I have to do tomorrow. So it's more of
Oh,
what,
that's right. Yeah.
like if I wasn't
Super
surrounded,
quick.
like if I wasn't a super like important day of
Tell
work,
him what it is.
I am shooting an Usher concert tomorrow.
Usher. Ding, 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 ding.
That's cool.
There's a whole COVID protocol, and with whenever you're around celebrities or important people, they're like, yeah, so you got to go get. I went and got COVID tested this morning. Had some chick ram a rod up my nose.
Whoa.
And yeah, dude, she was rough too. She was like, I think she actually got some brain matter because she was like all the way up here with it. It was awesome. So I had to do that today, and that kind of changed the game because that was a last minute announcement that I have to go get a test. Otherwise, I was going to go over there, but I don't want to be the guy that goes partying after getting a COVID test and then brings that shit back to the mothership. That's kind of.
Can you imagine if you gave Usher coronavirus?
Exactly, dude. Like that's not.
Do you have to get tested again?
Not tomorrow. I have another test. On. They're coming in the mail. Those are coming in the mail. Those are self tests that I've done a lot of them. I had to do them all last season.
Yeah,
dang, bro. I totally wish that I could be in Vegas to go meet Gary from Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Drunk 3PO, all those boys.
I watched their stream last night. I can't really divulge my personal thoughts on the stream because I don't want to make enemies, but but I watched their stream last night on the big screen, and it was cool. They had a really good time. I can say that much. They had a really good time. They were drinking they were drinking like champs. That's what Vegas is all about. So it was an entertaining stream.
X-Wing
takes a sip. But yeah, I mean, all those guys are in town. I know. I think Nick hit me up on Instagram, so I might try to get with him at some point.
Cool.
Yeah,
maybe
for sure.
Saturday. But yeah, I know a lot. I know they're all at the bar tonight, and it kind of ruined my week when I was like, oh, I can't go.
I've been thinking about that one in like Tennessee or whatever in 2022. We have a little guy, so I mean that's obviously changes it a little bit, but I'm like, that would be super cool.
That's where I want to go. And Mrs. X-Wing is baby crazy, so she would totally just carry around little man the whole time.
Where for what?
It's they've talked about it on EBN streams. It's like a Star Wars. I think it's an actual Star Wars convention. In 2022, I think in Tennessee. I think it's in Nashville. I could be wrong.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, it looks really cool. It's pretty cheap to go, but I mean the VIP is a little expensive, but just admission is.
What's a little expensive?
I mean, $500 for a VIP 3-day.
That's not bad.
No, it's not, and I think you get to meet Senator Palpatine himself.
McDermott's gonna be there.
That's what I heard.
I'm there.
And I think the VIP has like meet and greet, but I don't know. Maybe meet and greet is like 600 people in the room, and he just waves at you.
I mean, shit. That's still next year though, so I'm kind of down for that shit.
Bro, come on.
Yeah, Matt Risman. He just said it. ICCC in Nashville.
ICCC.
I hope. I don't know. I don't know if we'll actually go, but I would like to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna plan.
I would. I mean, yeah, I'll try to go. I'll bring a full podcast rig so that we can play.
That'd be sweet.
And then,
if it does work out, we can reference this stream and we could try and do a in-person.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the goal is to, if there's other people in the community there also,
with a live audience.
Yeah, I mean with people, put it out front, put it out in front of ICCC.
Oh, I'm not brave enough for that.
But yeah, I mean for sure. If not, set up a studio out there.
There you go. That's where the merch is at. I don't think I have anything left up on that site, to be honest with you. It was kind of we kind of did a squadrons thing, and then that was kind of it. Because I took all that merch down. I wanted the people that were there in the beginning to have it, and then just like.
And then somebody who swears they were never in gold left, and his name is forever immortalized
On the
on the
back,
back of the shirt.
freaking live.
Oh
Yep.
Who did that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think I know, but
I don't know.
I didn't do that.
I guess we'll find out.
I'm holding that person ransom.
All right, boys. I think that's good. I think we wrap it up.
I mean, we did do, 10, 15 minutes in the backstage before we got on, so it probably feels a little longer.
Almost about 2 hours. Whatever. That's all right. I had fun tonight. I think we covered some good ground. We got into some quantum theory. We talked about Bad Batch, the sequels. I don't know that there's really anything else we can talk about right now.
No, I mean, I think this episode's gonna put us in a direction that's going to, Boba's on deck. Well, really, Visions is on deck.
Very possibly, yeah. Visions. I'm going to be doing watch parties for Visions, believe it or not. So,
yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, guys. Well, happy Thursday. If you're going to stay up, I wish you well, and I hope I see you over on ADHD. I'm going to be doing the Evil Ewoks live with Alex and Zach, and we are going to have none other than Hero Fan Productions in the stream with us. So I'm very excited for that. I can't wait to talk to those guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I think that's it. You guys got anything you want to plug?
We have a 500 sub giveaway coming up because we hit 500 subs today. So, if you want to join a giveaway, it's super simple, super easy to do. And I think tonight at some point, once the little dude goes to sleep, kind of like a pre of streams, we'll be playing some Lego Star Wars. Maybe.
Ooh,
I don't know. We'll see.
If you're doing it, I'll be there.
Cool.
Setting up the merch store. So we're going to start doing the Luke and Leia shirts and then other, obviously, sweaters and all that fun stuff because winter is coming. And then I think I'm going to start doing hats for I don't want to mess up the language, but basically in the Jedi text. Is that what I don't know. I don't want to mess it up. Yeah.
Arabesh.
Yes, because I always mess everything up. So I think I'm going to be doing stuff in that with that font on hats. So
Cool.
if anybody wants anything custom done,
Heck yeah, I want one. I want X-Wing and Arabesh.
that's what I'm saying. If you guys, if you guys want stuff like that, that's the stuff I'm going to start doing.
Sick.
So I will get X-Wing's prototype made. Since I know that's what you want, I'll work on yours. And then I might even do like one that's like X-Wing's hangar bay for the members.
It's a lot of fun.
Can you have the whole tragedy?
Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Right.
And it's just like, wow, that's a cool like white box. And it's like, no, look closely.
Yeah, right. Like the whole speech. I probably could. I mean, if it was just a big white box with just a letter, yeah, I could.
Need a
like, what does that say? And you can always say, "Have you ever heard?"
Yeah.
The barista's just holding the coffee.
That would be a really good shirt, actually.
Yeah,
that would be a really fun shirt. Is really like, good shirt. Have you ever heard? And then people are like, "What?" And then it's like a little box, and you're like, "Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?"
I want a TWSN too. I want one of those.
Yeah, like I said, if you guys like, just so you know, the digital printing stuff for shirts is one thing I outsource, right? So just like everybody else, Teespring, Printful, Printfly, whoever, whatever it is, that's how we're doing the shirts. But the embroidery stuff, the hats, the sweaters, and all that stuff, I do that in-house.
It's awesome.
So that's all, like, I do it personally. So if you guys want stuff like that made, let me know, and I can prototype it out.
Cool.
And what style hats you like, whether it's trucker, whether it's flex fit, because I don't wear trucker because I'm bald, and I get
trucker.
I get little
like boy.
But yeah, so like if you guys want stuff made, and that goes for anybody in the Discords also, hit me up. I don't care whose channel it is.
An obsession in his basement with like a little foot pedal embroidered. So like, hey,
No, dude,
That's where Omega is. Omega's in his basement. He's like, faster, faster.
I got a 6-needle machine, bro. I got a legit like a legit
real
embroidered.
stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I do all my hats. I don't buy hats from anywhere else usually, unless it's like Hanger Bay or Theory's Purple One or Rebellion shit from Drunk 3PO. But yeah, if you guys want anything made, holler at me. But yeah, we're gonna get the merch store up, and then we're just doing more videos. Just keep on editing videos. So
Good stuff.
Cool.
Well, that's the update from the old boomers here. Again, sorry for the 7 minutes of missed content in the beginning.
You guys really missed out. I'm telling
We
you,
got-
you did.
We got all the awkward content out of the way and then just jumped right into council like it was totally
it's
fine.
so smooth. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need like a little battle royale in the back real quick. Let's get it out and like come in.
So they're like, why are they late again? And then we'll pull up like, is this country kitchen buffet?
Like a couple of kittens after they're done eating. Like, oh, I'm tired now. Let's just hang out and be friends.
Okay, boys. Well, thank you,
Yep.
chat, for showing up and hanging out. We appreciate you. Another edition of the Boomer Council. We'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for dropping by. I'm X-Wing. That's Star Wars Obsession. That's Mr. 2 Star Wars Nerds. Go subscribe if you haven't already. I hope today's been good for you, and I hope tomorrow finds you well. We'll see you guys. May the
Nice
Fourth be with
slogan.
you.